Okay, I'm going to make some menudo. The first thing I'm going to do, of course, add water to the pot. I'm going to be adding some fresh beef feet, which is patas de res. And that is about, well, it's 6 pieces, but it's about 2 pounds in there. And I'm going to add about 1.5 pounds of your pig's feet, which is patas de marrano. Also to this, I'm going to add just one beef shank, which is the center cut, which is, they call it as pinilla con hueso. Okay, once the water starts to boil, I'm going to let it boil for 30 minutes. I'm going to throw out the water from the first boil and then reboil it again with spices and all that. You can see all that grease on there and it hasn't even really started to boil. That's why I'm going to throw out that water. So I don't like any of that grease. So I'm going to throw that out and get fresh water in there and reboil it again. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. It's boiling. See all that nastiness right there? I'm going to throw all that water out and then I'm going to reboil it again. Also, I'm going to start with the red sauce, which is the salsa roja that goes for the menudo. For that, okay, I'm going to start on the salsa roja for the menudo. You're going to be needing 6 guajillo peppers, which I don't think there's a translation for English for guajillo peppers. And these are the guajillo peppers here. I already cleaned them out. Take out as much seeds as possible. I cut them in half. Then I also have 3 of the ancho chiles that I have cut the little stems to it and also took the seeds out and put them in here. And I have 6 of the jalapeno, not jalapeno, but I have 6 of the chili japoneses, also known as santaca or I can't even say it, capsicum in English. The chile ancho is also known as, it's just a dry chile poblano. That's all it is. Okay, so I'm going to put this to boil. Once it is soft, I'm going to blend it and then I'm going to strain it. That way I don't get any of the skin from here, because all I want is the thickening from it, the paste that I'm going to get from it. And that's all I need. Okay, so I'll be back when it's done. And I'm going to blend it. Go ahead and boil it till they are soft. I'll show you in a bit how it is, okay? So once it's boiled, just blend it. Okay, I have them on water. I just turned on the stove right now. I'm going to wait for them to boil. Once they have boiled, I'm going to go ahead and... Okay, that's coming to a boil. I'm going to turn it off and let it soak. Just let them sit there to soften up a little bit. Another 20 minutes. So I want them very soft. Okay, I've already threw out the dirty water from the first boil of the pig's feet and the beef feet and the shank. I'm going to put them back in there. Let it get another boil. And I'm going to save that. I'm making a broth for the menudo. I've already washed the menudo. I'm going to go ahead and put it to boil and do the same thing that I did to this pot. I'm going to boil it and throw out the first water to get rid of any extra fat that I missed. And you're still going to have fat, but not as much fat as you would if you didn't throw out the water. To this, I'm going to add a tablespoon of oregano, a tablespoon of the knorr tomate, a tablespoon of the knorr pollo, which is the bouillon, half an onion, 2 bay leaves, a tablespoon of black pepper, and 3 tablespoons of garlic minced. This is the 3 tablespoons of the chopped up minced garlic. Okay, tablespoon of oregano, tablespoon of knorr tomate, knorr pollo, half an onion, 2 bay leaves, teaspoon of black pepper, and 3 tablespoons garlic. Okay, let that boil. It needs to cook because those pig's feet and the cow's feet take a long time to cook. Meanwhile, I'm going to be cutting up the menudo. Give it about another 10 minutes and I'll be blending them because I'm letting them cool off as well as soften them up. Okay, I've already washed the menudo. I bought it whole. I'm going to go ahead and cut it up. And I'm going to wash it again. I'm going to boil it. Throw the first boiled water just to get rid of any fat that I did leave behind. Of course, you're going to have some fat, but at least it won't be a lot of fat. And then I'll reboil it again. Okay, so I've cut up 3 pounds of menudo. I've already washed it once, but I'm going to rinse it again one more time before I boil it. Okay, remember I'm going to boil it, and then I'm going to throw away that first boiled water. Took out as much fat as possible. So they're going to have some fat when we boil it, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and throw away the first batch. That way your menudo won't be so greasy. Okay, go ahead and fill it just above the menudo, not too much because we're going to throw this water away. Okay, you can see all the fat right now. Some is floating. I'm going to take those out. And I put it on a high. Once it starts boiling, I'm going to throw that away. Let it boil for about 10 minutes and throw that away. Okay, these are the pig's feet, the beef feet, and the shank already boiled. I'm going to go ahead and skim off some of that fat. Okay, I'm just going to scoop out some fat right here. You won't be able to get all the fat, but you'll be able to get most of it. And it's still going to be greasy. The next day, once it's been refrigerated, you can scrape off all the fat from the top layer. And there's not going to be much. Normally, when you don't wash it and you don't clean it and you don't trim it or dump out the water like I have, the next morning you're going to have a thick layer of fat on the top layer of the menudo. And that'll probably be the only time you can take it out. But I try to trim as much as possible. There's going to be fat. Okay, so I'm going to pull these out while the menudo boils, and I'm going to cut them into small little pieces and put them back into the menudo. Yeah, it's already fallen off the bone. Make sure you take out the bay leaf. There's 2 of them in there because they're a little hard. You can choke on them if you start chewing on it. Okay, there's no more in there. I'm going to save that broth right there because that's what I'm going to use to cook the menudo once I throw out the other one, the other water. Okay, this is already boiling. I'm going to just take this out and then throw away that water. Okay, I'm going to add my menudo back, and I cut mine very small. You can cut yours the size that you like. I already had some water boiling on the side, so I'm going to add that to it. And then also some of the broth from earlier. Okay, to this, I'm just trimming off the pig's feet a little bit. I'm going to throw it all back in. Bone and all. I already had started trimming this one. And there's still going to be some meat on those bones, so that's why I'm throwing it back. I'm just cutting it just a bit, just to have some texture. With the menudo, I'm throwing the bone. I know there's no meat on it, but there's a lot of flavor in bone. This is the cow foot, feet, whatever you want to call it, the hoof, I don't know. But this one has a little bit more meat than the pig. But I'm just going to trim a little bit of it. Whatever I can trim. If I cannot trim the rest, that's fine, because I'm going to throw it back in. All this right here is flavor, so that's why I'm cutting it. Still a little tough. It still needs more cooking, but while the menudo's cooking, I'm going to do that. This is the cow one. It gives it a lot of flavor. Like I said, I'm just trimming a little bit of it. I'm going to throw the rest in for flavor. Now all this has been pre-washed before I actually put it into the pot. But the first time it boils, I throw that water away too. So if there is anything, dirt, anything on it, it's been boiled out. Okay. So just cut it into small little chunks. That's a little tough right now. But all this will be tender later, and it'll be a lot of flavor. Okay, and here's the shank. A lot of this right here, the shank, a lot of the Mexican restaurants use it for caldo, their soup, the caldo de res. I don't use it. It's a little dry for me. I don't like it real dry, so I tend to use short ribs for my soup. But most of the restaurants, this is the type of meat you're going to see for the caldo that they serve. Now this one, I will cut it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to throw all this back in there, bone and all. Just be careful not to cut yourself. I have long nails, so I tend to catch the knife on my nail a lot. So that saves me from cutting my fingers. So I use my nails a lot to hold the meat. And I could cut a few strips and cut them all at the same time, but I just want smaller little cuts. Okay, I'm going to continue cutting this, and we'll show you the results later on. Okay, I've cut up as much as I'm going to cut up from some of these bones. Most of it's going to stay the way that it is, but I took off some of the meat from it. Might need to go to a bigger pot, not sure yet. Okay, I'm going to add some more broth to this, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend the chilies. Okay, I'm going to scoop out some of this foam and some fat from it. Okay, I put all the broth in here that I had boiled the meats with, the pig's feet and the shank and the cow's feet, and then I added some water to it. I already had some water on the side boiling, so that way it doesn't bring down the temperature. I went ahead and added some water that's been boiled. Okay, and that needs to boil for a while. Those feet are still tough. I won't taste the water now. I'll taste it a little bit later once it's more cooked. Okay, here are the guajillo peppers, the chile ancho, and the chile japones. I'm going to blend them into a paste, and that's what's going to go into the menudo. And I just put about a cup of water in here. I did not use the broth from it because it tastes a little bitter. I'm going to run it through the strainer just to catch everything. I do not want to be biting into the skins or one of the chiles. Okay, this is what you're left with. You don't want to bite into any of that. Okay, and this is what you want. All of this is going to go into the menudo. Okay, I'm just going to add the red sauce to this. And before I mix it, I'm going to skim off some of this foam from it. It's not much. As you can see, there's not much fat. There is some, you could see, but not a lot. Okay, let's give it a mix. Get a different spoon. Okay, at this point I'm going to add, I tasted the broth. It needs a little bit more salt, but I don't cook with salt. I use a lot of knorr tomate and knorr pollo because that has salt, so that's what I'm going to use for seasoning it for more salt. So 1 tablespoon more of the knorr tomate and the knorr pollo. And I know at the beginning I put 3 tablespoons of fresh garlic, but I'm still going to add 1 more tablespoon of powdered garlic. Use the homemade chiles for the coloring. I'm going to add only 1 tablespoon of the menudo mix. Give it a quick stir. Okay, and I'm also going to add another tablespoon of dried Mexican oregano. Okay, I'm going to skim off some of this right here. Now, you don't have to go through this process of taking out all this fat. I do it, that's me. Because no matter what, it's going to have fat. But some menudos are just too fatty, and that's just gross to me. Okay, I'm going to add the hominy and the juices to it. Okay, I went ahead and added the hominy. I added the juices to it that came with the hominy. I'm going to let it cook for another 30 minutes and we're done. Meanwhile, while this is still cooking, I'm going to cut up all the toppings that we can add to the menudo. Even though I took out a lot of the fat, you can still see how greasy it is. And that's because I took out a lot of fat and boiled it and threw that out. Okay, so here's the menudo. And I'm going to add some jalapenos, some lemon, some avocado, cilantro, and onion. And I'm going to have a corn tortilla. But first things first, I'm going to squeeze in some lemon. Okay. Take out that seed. Okay, a little bit of chile. A little bit of onion. Some cilantro. And some avocado. That's it. Enjoy.